this video, I will be sharing with you how you can install Postgres 16 on Ubuntu LTS 23. Now I'll be taking you through the entire process of downloading the VirtualBox, installing Ubuntu 23, and installing Postgres on the server, right? So if you just want to jump to the installation, I'll leave chapters in the description of this video. So with that said, let's get into it. So to get started with Oracle VirtualBox, go to Google and search Oracle VirtualBox. Select the first link, scroll down, select Downloads, and select the platform package for the operating system that you're using. I'm going to select the Windows OS. This will take a minute or two to complete as well. Once the download is complete, open the executable. Select Next. Keep the default and select Next. Select Yes. Missing dependencies, Python core. Select Yes. And then select Install. Select Finish to start the VirtualBox after installation. So this is what the VirtualBox application looks like. In the next lecture, we'll be downloading the Ubuntu operating system. For this course, we'll be using the desktop version and not the server version. In this lesson, we're going to be downloading Ubuntu operating system and installing Postgres. So to get started, head over to google.com and search for Ubuntu. Here, select Download Ubuntu Desktop. Scroll down and grab the latest version. So once you selected the latest version, your download will be automatically started. If your download has not been automatically started, you can select Download Now. So the installation has been completed. Now head over to your Oracle VirtualBox. So you're going to select New, specify a name for your server. So I'm going to call this Postgres-SVR. Browse for the image that you downloaded. So here I'm selecting the Ubuntu desktop, select Open, and then select Next. So here we're going to change the username to Postgres, and for simplicity I'm going to set the password to Postgres as well. Select Next. Here you can choose how much memory you want to allocate to your virtual machine. I'll be allocating 4 CPU and approximately 5 GB of RAM. Select Next. I'm going to reduce the hard disk size to about 10 gigs. Then select Next. And then select Finish. So it's now powering up the virtual machine to complete the installation. Select Enter to try or install Ubuntu. Select your language. And then select Next. So we're going to be selecting the option to install Ubuntu. Select Next. Select Detect your keyboard. Here you're going to choose your keyboard layout. I'm going to select English US and then select Next. Here I do not want to connect to the internet, so I'm going to select this option here. I don't want to connect to the internet just now. Select Next. Select Next. Here we have an update available. You can install it if you wish. I am going to skip it. So here I'm going to keep the default installation and select Next. Here select Erase Disk and install Ubuntu. So select Next to proceed. Select Install. Select your location and select Next. So for simplicity, for your name specify Postgres. For the username, keep Postgres. And for the password, you can set it as Postgres. So here I'm going to change this option from require my password to login. I'm going to turn it off, so you can go ahead and turn it off. Select Next to proceed. You can choose your theme and select Next. So it is currently setting up the system. This will take a few minutes to complete. Select Restart Now. So now that the installation has been completed, we need to configure our server so we can access it remotely, meaning we can access it from our laptop. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to be setting a static IP. So you want to select the network icon here. Click this little arrow here, select Wired Settings, select Settings, select IVP4, select Manual. Now in order to know which IP address we are going to be setting, we are going to be launching your command prompt and check your IP or the network which your computer is on. So for Windows user, it's cmd and the command is ipconfig. So this is my IP, and what we're going to be changing is the last octet for our server. So I'll be using 192.168.2.112. For the network mask, it's 255.255.255.0. So you're keeping the same network mask and the same gateway. So it's 192.168.2.1. Remember, the information you should use is what's on your machine, not the one that I'm using in the course. Disable DNS and specify the same IP address for the gateway. So it's 192.168.2.1. Now select apply. So enable and disable the connection. Now the next step is to select machine, select settings on your networks tab. From the drop down, select bridge adapter, expand advanced, and select allow all. Select OK. Now let's reboot the server. So it start. From the home screen you can select terminal and then type reboot. So let's skip online accounts. I do not want to send any info. Select next and select done. In order to test if the changes that you have just made are working, launch the command prompt. So it's cmd command prompt and ping the IP that you configured on the server. So it's 192 in my case, 168.2.112. Now once you're getting a reply like this, that means your configuration was successful. Now we have one more step to go before we can SSH to our server. So go back to the server, select show apps, select terminal. So now we're going to install the OpenSSH. So it's sudo apt-get install OpenSSH server. Hit enter, specify your password, select yes. Now the next step is to check the status of the OpenSSH. So the command is sudo service ssh and then status. In order to check the status of the SSH service, so that should return the status of the SSH service. So here it's active and running. So now we can remote to our server. Now the reason why I'm taking you through this route is because I want to simulate connecting to a server in the real world, right? I could have easily gone and installed the Postgres server on my laptop, but we will not be getting the real world experience if I had taken that approach. So the next step is that we're going to be connecting with an SSH tool called PuTTY. You can download it from this website here. And you can just simply Google download PuTTY and it will take you to this website, right? This application is already on my machine, so I'm just going to launch it. In order to connect, you're going to specify the host name or IP. It's 192.168.2.112. That's my IP. Specify your username, which is Postgres in my case, and my password is Postgres. So I've been successfully connected to my server. Now to increase the font, you can right click anywhere on the screen, select change settings, select appearance. Here under the font settings, select change and you can increase the font. I'll be selecting 14 and selecting OK. Then select apply. You can also change the text color for visibility, right? So you're going to go back to settings. So you right click again, change settings, select colors, select the default foreground color, select modify, and here I'm going to go with this nice green color and select OK, then select apply. Now we're going to be installing Postgres. So the documentation that I'll be using will be linked in the resource section of this lecture. So let me minimize my screen. So on one side I'll be keeping the documentation and on one side I'll be keeping my terminal. So the first step, we need to create the repository configuration. So this documentation will be available in the resource section, guys. So it's just copy and execute. Specify the password for Postgres. After you create the repository configuration, then you're going to import the repository sign-in key. So all the commands are available for you guys. Let's copy and paste, enter. That's done. Now let's do an update. Hit enter. This may take a minute or two to complete. Now let's run the command to install Postgres. Select Y to continue. It's now installing the client. So the download is still in progress. And the speed of this, guys, will be dependent on your network speed. So the installation is complete. Now we have one last step to complete. So now let's install the PostgreSQL contrib package. Now we can check the status of PostgreSQL. So the command is sudo system status ctl. So the service is in an active state. To stop the service, you do systemctl stop PostgreSQL. To start, you do sudo systemctl start PostgreSQL. So that is pretty much how you'll stop and start and check the status of your database instance. To clear your screen like I just did, you type the clear command and hit enter. Now from the command line, you can test connectivity to your instance by using the PLSQL client. So it's PSQL. So now we are basically successfully connected. To do a basic query, you can list all the databases by doing a /L. And this lists all the databases that are currently on the instance. To exit, type /Q. In the next lecture, we'll be taking a look at how we can install Postgres on a Windows server.